Chapter 1. 8:15. Grace Kirkstall's wristwatch showed 20 past, but it was really 1/4 past. Her watch was always 5 minutes fast. It was a watch of individuality. It defied every manoeuvre of watchmakers and Grace to control it. She would regulate it, correct it by the city clocks twice a day, yet always it spurted 5 minutes ahead of Greenwich, and then, content with its brief lead on the crowd, it settled down to maintain its advantage steadily. Grace understood it and automatically amended its reading, so that now, as the hands pointed to 20 past, she murmured 1/4 past to herself. It was a neat watch, hardly bigger than a postage stamp, its face elongated and marked with black lines, which gave it a severity that might have been expressive of a purposeful disapproval of time, and its own duty of recording what was at once the insubstantial and the imperative. Its spirit and small heart might have been happier could they have been transferred to some enormous tower or facade, where they could have forgotten their bondage in the delights of setting off bell mechanisms, rousing the air with noisy carillons, and turning the eyes of pedestrians to the stilted movements of jousting knights brought alive by the fall of hourly trips and catches. It was a watch which craved more vigorous employment than it found on Grace's wrist. Grace never suspected that her watch had a soul. She was romantic, but confined her imagination to people. If she daydreamed, it was in terms of everyday events and possibilities, like fortunes and winning sweepstake prizes. She was sure, for instance, that gallant princes never did come these days to woo woodcutters' daughters, but she reserved her feminine right to show no surprise if a handsome stranger did get aboard the 8:30 to Cannon Street and, dazzled by her charm, involve her in a series of romantic adventures, culminating, of course, in a brilliant marriage. But 8:15 in the morning, even for Grace, was no time for romantic thoughts. She put her handbag and the daily sketch on the hall stand, while she adjusted her hat in the glass, calling over one shoulder to her mother in the kitchen. "Goodbye, Mother. Shan't be late tonight. Don't you keep me waiting when I come in. You know what it's like trying to get into the Granada on a Friday night, and I do want to see the programme. Paul Mooney, you know what he means to me. Cheerio." She sailed out of the house on the breath of her talk, and left Mrs. Kirkstall replying absently from the kitchen, where she was pottering, vaguely undecided between preparing herself some breakfast or going without it. As she went down Fisher Road, Grace noted with gladness that the sun was shining. It was right that it should shine today, for this was Friday, the ending of the week and payday. There was something about Friday morning, she felt, different from any other morning of the week. It was exciting to have her money and come home, eager to be out again on the weekly treat which she and her mother shared, a show at the Granada, or a variety hall, or sometimes a theatre. And then the bus ride home, nursing on her lap the delicacy she had bought and hugged through the film, an expensive delicacy to be eaten for supper, a gesture to give appropriate finality to the day. She passed the United Dairies man, his shiny cap pushed back against the June heat, his blue and white striped apron flapping in the breeze against his knees as he ran his trolley along the gutter. "Nice day, miss. Beginning of a heat wave, maybe," he observed as she passed. Grace gave him a smile. He was a friendly but polite man. She liked milkmen to be polite. She turned out of Fisher Road into the main thoroughfare. There were other people on the way to the station, and she knew a great many of them by sight. There was the man with the yellow pigskin briefcase embossed with the initials B.A.T. Many a time Grace had wondered what those initials stood for, but she had never worked out a harmonious sequence, and now she referred to him in her private thoughts as Mr. Bat. And he did look a little bit like a bat. His ears were large, his shoulders humped, and his face long drawn with round eyes. There were typists like herself, young clerks in sober office dress, and elderly men who greeted one another with little cries about the weather.